great-grandfather and namesake.
You have his Hebrew name, Jeffrey?
Yep, he's on the art site list too.
Yeah, I thought my dad was as well.
Yep, he is.
The Hebrew name is not.
Okay, that's not working. I have to figure this out.
And it's first yard site for my aunt.
Nothing more this way.
No.
Linda, how are the grandchildren?
Fine. So far, I have one living with me.
Ooh, lucky you.
Yes, I am. Really
Yes, you are. Better believe it.
temporary, but I'll take it.
Mhm.
I don't see that yet.
Michelle, why don't you give me a 1 minute heads up and I'll start looking at my reading.
Okay, so let me give you a short one if there is. The first one is the shortest.
Then that's mine.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ruthann, do you have a preference?
Well, the one I've done the most is number 2.
Okay. So if there's nobody else, I will do number 3.
Why didn't
Bruce, good Shabbos, good to see you.
Shabbos. Time, Moshe.
It's time. Okay. Last time, well, you have your side, so Ruthann, why don't you begin? We turn to page 558.
558.
558.
Ashrei Yeshvei Beitecha Odi Hallelujah Selah.
Sandy, why don't you be a co-responder?
Shreyam Shekalo, Ashreyam Shadonai Elohav.
Tehillah David, Aramimach Elohai HaMelech Baruch Shimcha Le'olam Vahed.
V'choyam avarcheko, v'halashim chaleolam va'ed.
Gado Adonai Halamed, V'ligdal Tewen Cheker.
Dor l'dor shabach ma'asecha, gurutecha yagidu.
Hadar Kavod Hodecha, B'divrei Niflotecha Asicha.
V'zuz neretecha yameru, dulatcha saprena.
Zecher Rab Tuvacha Yabi, V'tzikatecha Yiranenu.
Chanun v'rachum Adonai, yerach apayim ugdol chesed.
Tov Adonai La'kol V'racha Maval Kol Ma'asav.
V'duch Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yivarchucha.
Kavod Malchutecha Yemeru, Gviratecha Yedaberu.
Hodiel ibnei hadam gvurota, v'chvod hadar malchuto.
Malchutecha Malchut Kol Olamim, Memshaltecha B'chol Dor Ba'ador.
Nech Adonai l'chol haneflim, v'zakef l'chol hakfifim.
Einecho Elecha Yesaberu, V'atonu Ten Lahem Et Oklam B'Ito.
Patech et yodecha, maspel l'chol chayratzon.
Tzadik Adonai B'chol Dracha, V'chasid B'chol Ma'asav.
Karev Adonai l'chol karav, l'chol asher yikra'u b'emet.
Ritzon Yirei Yasev, V'et Shavatam Yishma V'Yoshiehem.
Shemer Adonai kol ohava, ve'kol harshayim yashmid.
V'hilad Adonai Yedaber Pi, V'varech Kol Basar Shem Kodsho Le'olam Vahed.
Anachnu nevarech ya, me'ata v'yad olam hallelujah.
V'anak Nunavarech Ya, Me'atov Yad Olam Hallelujah. Uvad L'Tzion.
Page 560.
V'yivdechu v'cha yodei shemecha, ki lo azavta derashech Adonai. Adonai chafetz lema'an tzidko, yagdil terav yahadir. Yitkadav Yikadash Merabaha.
Amen.
Yama Dibrachirute, Yamlich Malchute, Bachayechon of Yamechon, Bachayecho Beit Yisrael, Bagalavid Man Karivi Meru, Amen.
Yehi
Eshme
Shmita
Rabba Mevarak, Leolam Elam Maya. Yet barak yishtabak yet bar v'yirmam yitnaseh v'yet hadar v'yet alev v'yet alal shemei dekudesha b'rechu le'lamim kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata damiran b'yama b'meru amen.
We turn to page 566 for the abbreviated Torah service. Begin with Kimitzion, please. Ruth-Ann.
Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, udavar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, le'amo Yisrael.
May be seated. Today we're reading from Parshat Kitavo. We are reaching the end of the book of Deuteronomy, and it's Moshe's last weeks of life. And he talks about coming to the land of Israel and what we are to do when we get to the land of Israel. And here is something that's really very, very striking. When you come to the land and you farm the land, which is a dream come true, and you take the first fruits and you come to Yerushalayim, you come to the temple, and there is a confession that you make. And the confession is part of the text that Ruth-Ann will read. And the opening words are, Arami Oved Avi Vayered Mitzrayma. It's the same text that we find in the Haggadah. We say this, it's so awesome that we say it every year at the Seder table. Now think for a moment. If at one time you were a slave and now you're free, your first reaction would be, I don't want to talk about that time. I'm done. I'm free. I'm here. I'm now. Don't mention it. I don't want to talk about it. And here there is a message that says, you cannot be free if you forget that you were a slave. You cannot appreciate being healthy if you don't know and remember what being sick is like. And you're entering a world that is counterintuitive. And you enter a domain that says, if you really want to be powerful and in possession of your power, you must know what it's like to be weak, to be broken, and to be oppressed. As a Hasidic Rebbe who would say, the only complete whole heart is the heart that is broken. If you don't know what a broken heart is, and if you don't remember and remember actively, you will not have a whole heart. Nadia Masuda, we say Shabbat Shalom, welcome, Baruchim Aba'im, and we pray and wish for you Refuah Shlema Meira, Amen, Amen, Amen. And so this is a point that I really feel to communicate across. We must remember our slavery, our faults, our liabilities in order to be free, strong, and in possession of the gifts that are ours to have. If we don't remember, those gifts will be taken away from us. They will be lost. And before long, you will be oppressed and subjected and subjugated in a way that you really wish you weren't. Of course, this isn't about politics, but about this great tradition that we have. And I just want to also say that we at Chizuk Amuno are so fortunate to have Minyan people who read Torah at a drop of a hat and read it with such mastery, proficiency, and authorship. And it is thanks to that beautiful presence of gift that we have. And with that, let's make the bracha. We consecrate our community and the deeds that we do, the bracha that we are to say when we are going to read the Torah, when we don't have a Torah scroll in front of us. Baruch, together. Baruch, Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. We are in Parshat Kitavot, chapter 26, verse 1. Sandy, if you please.
V'haya kitavo el haaretz asher Adonai Elohecha noten lecha nachala v'rishta v'yashavta ba v'lakachta mereshit kol peri hadama asher tavi me'artzecha asher Adonai Elohecha noten lecha v'samta v'teneh v'halachta el hamakom asher yivchar Adonai Elohecha l'shaken shemo sham uvata el hakohen asher yeh bayamim hahem v'amarta elav higadeti hayom l'Adonai Elohecha kivati el haaretz asher nishba Adonai lavotenu latet lanu.
Thank you, Sandy. That was beautiful. Jeffrey Davis is going to translate for us from the Chumash, Eitz Chaim. Jeffrey, loudly and slowly and majestically, please. Sir.
When you enter the land that the Lord your God is giving you as a heritage, and you possess it and settle within it, you shall take some of every first fruit of the soil, which you harvest from the land that the Lord your God is giving you. Put it in a basket and go to the place where the Lord your God will choose to establish his name. You shall go to the priest in charge at that time and say to him, I acknowledge this day before the Lord your God that I have entered the land that the Lord swore to our fathers to assign to us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. We now first do some Bachot Lacholim, where we first and foremost, Nadia, we so wish and pray for your well-being and health. And tell us, I want to hear from you. Can you unmute yourself? Yes. Nadia, tell us your Hebrew name, please.
Nachama bat Yosef Belea.
שברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב אמותינו שרה רבקה רחל ולאה וברך וירפא את נחמה בת יוסף ולאה בעבור שאנחנו מתפללים עבורה. קדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליה להחזיקה לו עקבותיו וישלח לה מהרה רפואה שלמה לחולה וגדיה בתוך שאר חולי ישראל, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף בתוך שאר חולי ישראל. שבת היא מלזוק ורפואה קרבה לבוא השתה בעגלה בזמן קריב ונאמר
Thank you, Moshe.
You are welcome. Yehi Ratzon, please God. Nadia, while we have you on, would you share a memory that you have of your aunt, please?
I will. Also, her daughter is online as well, so I will share something.
We will ask Magda, not to worry.
Yes, all right. Yeah, she. I was lucky enough to have two moms. They were twins, and one thing she always said to me, she loved babies, and she said, every time you see a baby, think of me, because she loved babies. And you know, she was a wonderful woman. We were lucky enough to have two moms.
Beautiful, beautiful words. And of course, for those who may not know, this is a family that escaped Egypt, literally, an oppressive, brutal, crushing, anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist regime. And we are so fortunate to have you in our midst. And of course, your Abba, Yosef, Zichrono Levacha, came to Minyan every morning and was so loving and kind to me. And to this day, it is of help. Magda, can you speak and tell us a little about Mama?
Like Nadia said, you know, they were very close. If one get dressed, they somehow they manage without even talking to each other. They dressed alike. And when they saw each other, I said, "Oh, you want in this dress? Oh, I'm not gonna be one in the same thing. I'm gonna go upstairs and change." So in a way, they were, you know, very close, but they wanted to be individual as well. And my mom, we lived in Boston, and then she moved to Baltimore, Maryland, to be next to her sister. So they, you know, the main reason my mom moved after my father been gone for quite a number of years is to be near her twin sister and her brothers. So the family was very important to her, very important. And we used to drive. I remember driving from Boston to Baltimore, you know, year after year after year, just to be with the family. And we came to every you know occasion, you know, wedding and bar mitzvah, and we tried to celebrate with them. So the closeness of the family was very important to her, and therefore it's for me and for all the kids.
Thank you, Magda. I just want to tell you that on the high holidays, we would sit next to your family and I would see both your moms and the rest of the family. And after a few years, it got to be like mishpacha, a chamula. It was really good. Doctor, please, Dr. Masuda.
Yes.
Now yes.
Well, my sister Sarah was a very kind lady. You know, she is always giving and she always taking care of me. As a matter of fact, as they are saying that they have two mothers, I had also three mothers. My mothers and my two older sisters, because there is a big age difference between the two of us. So they were like my two mothers to me. So I had three mothers to spoil me. So I got spoiled rotten. And I still have great memories of them, and I never forget them.
Amen. Beautiful, beautiful. Lily, you have the last word, Lily.
May they rest in peace.
Amen. Amen. Lily, a word?
I love them both very much. I loved Sarah very much. She was, like you said, very kind, very loving, very, very accommodating, and she always had a smile on her face. Every time she saw him, she had her face just lit up. She was a wonderful woman.
Thank you. So this is Sarah bat Shalom v'Malka.
Yeah.
שוכן במרומים, אמצעי מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר רקיע מזהירים, את נשמת שרה בת שלום מלכה שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה. אנא ברחמים, הסתיריה בסתר כנפיך, לעולמים וצור, מצרח חיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר
Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Ruth Ann is going to continue with the Torah reading on page, chapter 26, verse 4.
Melakach hakohen hatenem yadecha v'hinicho lifnei mizbach Adonai Elohecha v'anita v'amarta lifnei Adonai Elohecha Arami oved avi Vayered Mitzrayma, Vayagor Sham Bimtehe Me'at, Vayisham Legoy Gado Atzim Varav, Vayareu Otahanu HaMitzrim, Vayanunu, Vayidnu Aleinu, Avodah Kasha, Vanitzah El Adonai Elohei Avotenu, Vayishma Adonai et kolenu, Vayar et onyenu, V'et amalenu, V'et lachatzenu, Vayotzienu Adonai mimitzrayim, V'yad chazaka v'Yisrael anituyah, Uv'merah gadol, Uv'otot uv'moftihim, Vayitbi'enu el hamakom hazeh, Vayiten lanu et haaretz hazeh, Eretz zavat chalav udvash, V'ata hinei heveti et reshit peri hadamah, Asher natata li Adonai, V'hinachta Livnei Adonai Elohecha, v'hishtachavita, Livnei Adonai Elohecha, v'samachta b'choratov, Asher natan lecha Adonai Elohecha, u'leveitecha, ata v'halevi, v'hager asher b'kirbecha.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That is the confession that the farmers would make. And we are told in the Mishnah that there was a stone in front of the altar that had inscribed, carved out of it, this confession. And those who could read would read, and those who couldn't, we are told that little priestly boys would dictate to the farmer who couldn't read. After a while, people who were embarrassed to be dictated by a little priestly kid stopped coming. So a great deal of money, that is the produce, was being absent. So they removed the stone and they had everyone be dictated by the priestly child who would dictate to them. That's a little history. Ruth Ann, tell us about your aunt that is the first yahrzeit.
Okay, my Aunt Etta was married to my father's youngest brother. I was flower girl at their wedding. I think I was like 3.5 years old. And she was 18, so she was only like 15 years older than I was. My father, my parents, and my father's youngest brother, my Uncle Evan, my Aunt Etta, that was the brother that was closest to my father. So we would do holidays together. And my uncle eventually had a fruit and vegetable stand in the Annapolis market. And my Aunt Etta was worked there too, but she, I mean, she didn't do a lot of work with the produce itself. She was a schmoozer. So she was the one that always talked to all the customers. When she was older, she had a problem with one of her heart valves and needed surgery. And she needed somebody to stay with her. My uncle was still working. And my mother says, why don't you call your sister? Well, apparently she hadn't talked to her sister in years. And my mother said, look, call her, what can it hurt? Well, it turns out her sister was so glad to hear from her, they couldn't even remember what they fought about. So they made up. You know, unfortunately, their last couple of years they spent in, first it was whatever that facility was, that senior living place across from Woodholm Shopping Center, and ran out of money and ended up at King David. And my uncle's still there, but he has Alzheimer's, and and you know, their son is in Florida and their daughter is in Colorado. So
what is her name, Ruth-Ann?
Ita bat Mendel Halevi Vefruma.
מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים, אמצע מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר רקיע מזהירים את נשמת איתה בת מנדל הלוי אפרומה, שהלכה לעולמה, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה. אנא ברחמים, הסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצור בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר אמן. Okay, let me see. Susan, you'll daven Ma'ariv tonight, if that's okay. Okay, so I'll do the reading. The last reading on this Shabbat afternoon is verse 12. Ki techaleh laser et kol ma'asat tuatcha בשנה השלישית שנת המעשר, ונתת ללוי, לגר, ליתום ולאלמנה, ואכלו בשעריך ושבעו, ואמרת לפני אדוני אלוהיך ביארתי הקודש מן הבית, וגם נתתי ללוי ולגר, ליתום ולאלמנה, ככל מצוותך אשר ציוויתני, לא עברתי במצוותיך ולא שכחתי. לא אכלתי ועוני ממנו, ולא ביארתי ממנו בטמא, ולא נתתי ממנו למת. שמעתי בקול אדוני אלוהי עשיתי, ככל אשר ציוויתני, השקיפה ממעון קודשך מן השמיים, וברך את עמך את ישראל, ואת האדמה אשר נתת לנו, כאשר נשבעת לאבותינו ארץ זבת חלב ודבש. Jeffrey, please, loud and clear.
When you have set aside in the full 10th part of your yield, in the 3rd year, the year of the tithe, and have given it to the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat their fill in your settlements, you shall declare before the Lord your God, I have cleared out the consecrated portion from the house, and I have given it to the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, just as you commanded me. I have neither transgressed nor neglected any of your commandments. I have not eaten of it while in mourning. I have not cleared out any of it while I was unclean, and I have not deposited any of it with the dead. I have obeyed the Lord my God. I have done just as you commanded me. Look down from your holy abode, from the heavens, and bless your people Israel and the soil you have given us, the land flowing with milk and honey, as you swore to our fathers.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And Linda, my good dear friend Linda, it's been so many years. My goodness. You need to unmute yourself, Linda. You know how to unmute? There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, we go back with Rabbi Zayman for week after week with really a great, precious legacy.
Yes.
Tell us a little about your father, Linda, if you would.
My dad was part of what many of us call the Great Generation. He fought in World War II. He started with nothing, and he was a CPA. He became the head of the largest CPA firm at the time in Virginia. And he noticed in the community there that in Norfolk, that Jewish people really had older Jewish people really had nowhere to go if they wanted to be in a Jewish facility. There was one in Richmond, and that's where people went. It was called Beth Shalom. So he put together the financing and raised the funds and obtained federal funds to establish a Beth Shalom home in Norfolk, or it's actually in Virginia Beach. And I think that was quite an astounding accomplishment. So he was the first president, and I think he was particularly proud of that and of his 3 children and 9 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren.
And what's one thing you learned from your father?
I'm sorry?
One thing you learned from your father.
I guess the thing that always comes to my mind is integrity. He was really a straight shooter. So it's a trait I admire and can aspire to. I don't know that it's difficult to follow in those exact footsteps.
Correct. Where did he serve in World War II?
He was in Europe. He was in France at one point.
Okay. Dr. Jerry Hoffman is a master of finding out all the things that you did want to find and didn't want to find out in the history of, anyway. Dad's Hebrew name is Mordechai ben?
Etta V'Simcha.
מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, ממצאי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, זועקי המזהירים את נשמת מרדכי בן שמחה ואתה, שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו. אנא ברחמים, הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצור בצרור חיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. Thank you, Linda. It's an honor. We continue on page 570. The last three lines, Ruth Ann, if you please. You need to unmute yourself, Ruth Ann. Sorry.
Etz Chaim Hila Machadikim Ba B'Tomcheha Meushar Debracheha Darchei Noam B'chol Netivoteha Shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha benashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yamenu Chadesh Yamenu Kedem.
We continue with Chatzi Kaddish. We'll do a Hecha Kedusha, page 572. Repent, please.
Yitgadav Yikadash Merabah Yam Hadivrach Yiruteh Yam Lich Malchuteh V'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayedocho Beit Yisrael Bagalav Izman Kariv Imaru Amen Yesh Merabah Mevarach Le'olam Olam Me'omaya Yit barak v'yishtabak v'yitbar v'yiramam v'yitnatzeh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'riachu le'lam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran b'yamaha v'yimaru amen.
The Amidah begins on the inside back cover, and we go back to 574 through the Kedusha, concluding silently.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'gibor v'Hanera, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim B'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Havot, U'Meviko El Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Yahava, Zerfoked Moshe Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham V'Foked Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayem Metim Atarav Lehoshia, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayem Metim B'Rachamim Rabim, Samech Noflim V'Rofech Olim U'Matir Asurim, Mekayem Emanatoli Shenei Afar, Michamecha Baal Gevurah Demida Melach, Melech Meimid Mechayehu Matzmeach Yeshua, V'Naaman Atolach Chayot Metim, Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei HaMetim.
קדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, הכתוב על הנביאך, וכזה עושה ואמר.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה ואמר.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך על הארץ כבודו, לעומתם, ברוך ימיהו.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, Melech haaretz kavodo l'umatam Baruch Yameru.
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, דברי קודשך כתוב לאמור.
Baruch kavod Adonai mimkama v'divrei kodshecha katuv lemor.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, ולחייך ציון לדודו, הללויה.
Yimloch Adonai leolam Elohayik Tzion l'dor hallelujah. L'dor v'dor nakid godlecha lenetzach nitzachim. Kedushaktecha naktish v'shivacha Eloheinu. Mipinu lo yamush leolam vahed. Ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata. Baruch atah Adonai Ahel HaKadosh.
Continue silently, page 578. We continue with Kaddish Shalem. Repent.
Yitkada v'yitkada Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yamad Yivrach Yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayecha v'yamecha v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael v'agala b'zman kariv v'yimaru. Amen.
Amen.
Yeshmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olam elmaya yitvarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnatseh v'yitadar v'yitala v'yitala shemeda kudusha v'yachu le'la min kol birchata v'shirata tishbachata v'nachamata damiran b'yama v'yimaru. Amen. Yikabal salodhen uva decha Yisrael kadam avahen divishmaya v'yimaru. Amen. Yehesh lama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru. Amen. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol La tekedu la liotzer bereshit shavo atzanu kegoye haratzot v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'kahoralenu kecho hamonam v'hanachnu karim u'mishtachavim u'modim Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Ki hamalchut shelcha hi u'lemeatim lok bechavod kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch leolam vahed. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד.
Thank you. Is Sarah's yahrzeit tonight and tomorrow, or last night and today? Magda, do you remember?
Last night and today.
Last night and today. And her name was Sarah. What's her last name?
Sarah Levy.
Sarah Levy. Okay. We recall our loved ones who are inscribed in our hearts and our lives and are remembered in the congregation Chizuk Amuno and its memorial memories. The following names are listed: Molly Barber, Liam Brooks, Frida Holtzman, Eli Miller, Francis Muskin, Louis Nathans, George Rosen, Sarah Shapiro, Helen Stoneman, Jerome Wasserkrug, Irene Weinberg, Lillian Zale, and we also recall Sarah Levy and
Etta Kaufman.
Ida Kaufman.
Etta
Kaufman, first yahrzeit. And Linda, is it tonight and tomorrow? It's yesterday and today?
No, it's tonight and tomorrow.
All right, so we'll mention him at the end of the Arvit service. Jeffrey, anybody else? Okay. Ruth Ann, would you lead us in the yahrzeit, the mourners and yahrzeit's Kaddish, page 600?
Yitkadav Yikadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yama divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei v'chol Beit Yisrael. V'agala v'izman arid yimeru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah Barak Le'olam Olam Maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramah v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei v'yishab v'rechu le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran yama v'yimeru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbi Shmaya V'chayim Aleinu Yalko Yisrael V'imru. Amen. Oseh Shalom V'imramav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'yalko Yisrael V'imru. Amen.
Thank you so much, Ruth Ann. And we also need to recall and remember, and again, Marcia Hoffman of blessed memory, who passed away. It's been just a little over a week. And to Wendy and to Dr. Jerry Hoffman, from our hearts, know that we carry and share the burden of your loss with love and with affirmation. We turn to page 200, and Dr. Susan Miller will be kind enough to lead us in the Arvit service. Page 200, we rise.
V'hurachum yechaper avon v'lo yashchit v'hirba lahashiv apo v'lo yair kol chamato Adonai Hoshia Hamelech Ya'anenu V'yom Kareinu Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Be seated. Page 200.
El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim.
Amen.
V'ahavatacha tatzir mimenu liolamim. Baruch Atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Page 202.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavecha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol miodecha, v'hayu advarim ha'eleh. Asher Anochi Mitzabacha Hayom Alevavecha Vishinantam Levanecha Vidibarta Bam Vishivtacha Bevetecha Uveletacha Baderech Uvshaftacha Uvkumecha Ukashar Tamliot Ayadecha Vahayu Litotafot Beinenecha Uchtavtam Amzuzot Beitecha Ubisharecha Naya. L'man yirbu yamechem v'imevnechem al hadama asher nishba Adonai lavotechem latek lahem kimei hashamayim al haaretz.
204 at the top.
Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber El bnei Yisrael v'amarta alehem v'yasu lahem tzitzit al kanfei v'gdeihem l'dorotam v'nadnu al tzitzit hakanaf b'til techelet v'haya lachem l'tzitzit uritem oto Urzachtem et kol mitzvot Adonai va'asitem otam V'lo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei nechem asher atem zonim achareihem leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotoi v'tem kadoshim leloechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim V'yod lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet.
We're in the middle of 204.
Umalchuto beratzon kiblu alehem Moshe b'nei Yisrael l'chanu shira B'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam Mi chamocha b'helim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Norati lo tosef eleh Malchut Charubanecha Bokei Ayam Lifnei Moshe Ze'eli Anu V'yamru Adonai Yimloch Leolam Va'ed V'nemar Kipad Adonai et Yaakov Ugalo Minhah chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Go'al Yisrael.
Page 206. 206.
Ushemor tzeitenu, vo'enu l'chaim l'sholom me'ata v'ad olam. Baruch atah Adonai, shomer amo Yisrael la'ad. Baruch Adonai li'olam amen v'amen.
The middle of 206.
Ki hamalchut shelcha hi ul'amei timloch b'chavod, ki ein lanu melech ela ata, baruch ata Adonai, hamelech b'chvado tamid yimloch aleinu li'olam va'ed, v'al kol ma'asa.
Amen. We rise 208. Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Yama divrachirute v'yam lich machute b'chayechan v'yamechan v'chayetecha be'Yisrael v'agala v'zman kari v'yimru amen.
Yehei
Shmei rabba mevorach v'yam
Yom
me'amaya yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalah shemei dekudisha. Ilchule ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran v'yama v'yimeru. Amen.
We begin on page 210 silently. Please remember at the top of 212 or 213 the paragraph for Motzei Shabbat, for the end of Shabbat. Page 210 silently. Whenever you're ready, Susan. Kaddish Shalem.
Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
V'yam divrachirute v'yam lich malchute b'chayechan v'yamechan v'chayetecha be'Yisrael v'agala v'zman kari v'yimru amen.
Amen. Yehei Shmei
Shmei
Rabba
rabba mevorach li'olam olam me'amaya yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitala shmei dekudusha v'lechu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tishbachata v'nechamata damiran b'yama v'yimeru. Amen. Tikabal tzlotahona v'utan d'chal Yisrael kadamu v'handi v'shmaya v'yimeru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mroma hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen.
We turn to page 700 for the Havdalah, which consecrates the coming week. Please, God, bring us joy, peace, health, and all the good things that you know we need and we don't even know that we need. Maimonides tells us Havdalah is Kiddush. And so we light a candle to show our intelligence to manage fire intelligently. And we raise a glass of wine. Savrimanan, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei v'samim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam המבדיל בין קודש לחול, בין אור לחושך, בין ישראל לעמים, בין יום השביעי לששת ימי המעשה. ברוך אתה אדוני המבדיל בין קודש לחול, מבדיל בין קודש לחול, חטאותינו ימחו, זרענו וכספנו ירבה כחול, וכוכבים בלילה. שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, חגות אבוך, חגות אבוך, שבוע טוב, חגות אבוך. אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו הגלעדי, במהרה בימינו יבוא אלינו עם משיח בן דוד, עם משיח בן דוד. אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו הגלעדי. Gut gewünscht Woche, Mazel, Parnossa, Atzlocha, Nachas von den Kindern, der Einiglich und Sholem auf der Welt. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגואלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים משתחווים ומודים. לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד,
Linda, please tell us Dad's name. Meyer?
Mordecai.
In English?
Morton Goldman.
Morton Goldberg?
Goldmeyer.
Goldmeyer. We recall our loved ones who are inscribed in our hearts and our lives. For the 10th of Elul, Sunday, August 30th, 2020, Morton Goldmeyer, and the following listed in our perpetual memorials: Irving Alter, Lena Bloomberg, Nechama Mora Cohen, Benjamin Priceman, Irvin Sussman, Stanley Fisher, Lucy Fleischman, Ida Lee Friedman, Israel Greenthal, Ruthie Holstein, Esther Mazer, Richard Needell, Isaac Perlmutter, Abraham Tobias, and we recall Marcia Hoffman of blessed memory very, very much. Yortzeit and Mourners Kaddish, page 226. Jerry, if you're available, would you lead us in the Kaddish on page 226?
ישגדל וישגדל שמי רבו, ויעמוד דברו חירותי וימלך מלכותי. וחי יקון ויום יקון וחי את כל בית ישראל, ועגלו בזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. שמי רבו מברך לעולם ולעולמי עולמי. יסברך וישתבח ויספואר ויסרומם ויסנשא. ויסדר ויסעלה ויסעלל שמי דקדושה ברכו. ויהי מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. היי שלמה רבא מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרמיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen.
Linda, I have a question for you. Do you have a Sidur Sim Shalom with you?
Yep.
Okay, we turn to page 40 for the Psalm for the Days of Awe. And would you read for us the regular lines? And Wendy, can you read the italicized lines, please?
Sure,
Okay.
page 40.
Page, actually 41.
41.
And it goes to 43.
A Psalm of David, the Lord is my light and my help, whom shall I fear?
The Lord is the strength of my life, whom shall I dread?
When evildoers draw near to slander me, when foes threaten, they stumble and fall.
Though armies be arrayed against me, I will have no fear.
Though wars threaten, I remain steadfast in my faith.
One thing I ask of the Lord, for this I yearn, to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold his beauty, to pray in his sanctuary.
He will hide me in his shrine, safe from peril. He will shelter me beyond the reach of disaster.
He will raise my head high above my enemies. I will bring him offerings with shouts of joy, singing, chanting praise to the Lord.
O Lord, hear my voice when I call. Be gracious to me and answer.
It is you that I seek, says my heart. It is your presence that I seek, O Lord.
Hide not from me, reject not your servant.
You have always been my help. Do not abandon me. Forsake me not, my God of deliverance.
Though my father and my mother leave me, the Lord will care for me.
Teach me your way, O Lord. Guide me on the right path to confound my oppressors.
Page 43.
Abandon me not to the will of my foes.
False witnesses have risen against me, people who breathe out lies.
Mine is the faith that I surely shall see the Lord's goodness in the land of the living.
Hope in the Lord and be strong. Take courage. Hope in the Lord.
לולי האמנתי לראות בטוב אדוני בארץ חיים. קווה אל אדוני, חזק ויאמץ ליבך, וקווה אל אדוני. The concluding mourners and Yortzeit Kaddish is on page 52, page 52. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון וימיכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל, ועגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם והרמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה וחמתה דמירם בעמה ועמאמן יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל ישראל ואמן עושה שלום במרומיו והוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל
Amen.
Good Geben Shvoch, Shavua Tov. Nadia, it was wonderful to see you. And Magda, please come back. Don't be a stranger. Wendy, Michael.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Jerry.
Thank you